Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 2 of the Early Years Learning Lab presented by Mini Monstars. Coach Shane here, as always. We're here with Cassie. Take 2, Cassie. I butchered it at the start, but we're back into it. How are we going?
Yeah, really stoked, really good today. Yeah.
Nah, good. So pretty well, as I was saying, it's always hard to get our guests on, episode 2 of the podcast. So really thankful. So glad that you're here. Can you maybe just tell everyone, I guess, and go in depth as you want with this on what you're doing, what you kind of do in the early years sector, and yeah, just kind of give a rundown.
Yeah, so it can be quite broad, so I will try and sort of stick not too much in detail, but Sprouts is my company and it was built from ground up, really. Yeah. And so I started the business seeing those gaps within the early learning sector, and it was because I was on the floor too, and I was running the centres, and I burnt myself out.
Yeah.
I just really overcommitted, and I knew how to build the team up, but I still burnt myself out. So I knew there was another way, and I found it, and I was able to implement a lot of strategies, but realized I was still by myself as I was doing all of this. So this is where Sprouts came from. So this is where now Sprouts, we completely focus on those in the leadership roles to help build their capacity up, but have that support essentially that I didn't have. And I completely understand that there are services with managers and owners that are really involved, but they also can become isolated and they can be by themselves. So, and also stuck in their own thoughts. So when you have an outsider, it's just, it brightens up everything.
For sure. I think running a business and that sort of stuff, once, especially if you run it and you're the one that kind of it all kind of reports back to, it does get lonely. So I feel like for the directors, if they have somewhere, like obviously they're trying their best and they're doing their thing, but if they have someone like yourself who they can kind of lean on and be like, hey, like ask questions. And is that kind of what you thought where you first started the company?
Yeah, absolutely. And you're correct. It is similar to running a business where you are by yourself and you're like, hey, I can't ask Johnny what's happening. Like, you can't run things through. And with early childhood, what happens is those in the leadership role, the children rely on them, their educators rely on them, their managers rely on them, owners, CEOs, whoever it is, everyone actually relies on the director or the nominee supervisor.
Yeah.
But who do they get to rely on?
For sure. Or just to kind of, run ideas off or that sort of stuff. It's just all coming back to them, I guess. And as a business owner, like it, no matter what happens, even if it's the problem that you're kind of not even around, like it's still at the end of the day, it's on you to kind of get it fixed. So no, that's great. So I guess the first question I would think would be great is when you were in the space, did you start as an educator and then like become a director? Is that kind of how your process went in the earlier sector? And then the second part is when you were in the field and that sort of stuff, what did you see that you were like, oh, I think there's a business or there's something that we need to do to help everyone?
Yeah, there's right from the start to the end, really. And absolutely, that's what happened. So I
might head off and grab a coffee and you just explain the rest of the session.
I'll just sit here for a while and talk. And I've definitely missed steps by doing that, but that's fine. But yeah, so I did, you're correct. I did start off my career right down the bottom. So I started off as the support worker. So not part of ratio. I was there for the additional needs children, the special rights children within those services. And I started off there. I then did get my diploma. I then moved services, became that room leader, 2IC, built myself up. Then I became the centre director at that centre, which again brought its challenges, because to go from an educator being friends with everybody to the one that leading everyone was quite a challenge.
Yeah.
And but by the end of it, it was an amazing centre. We were an exceeding service, and
Oh,
you know, you
awesome.
ask the team now, and they're like, "Oh, we were a dream team." So
Yeah, for sure. One of those things you look back, you're like, how good was that back in the, one of those, that time of your life was awesome.
yeah, you're like, "Oh, why did I leave?"
Yeah.
But it's because I became an adult and bought a house, so
Yeah,
I moved location. So where I was in the city, and I couldn't afford the
for
city. That
sure.
was just what happened.
Part
So
of Sydney,
I moved.
that's expensive times.
Yeah, pretty much. So I sort of had to go, I can't be at a centre and live like an hour and a half
No.
away. I couldn't. Like,
Yeah.
so the best interest was for the centre was me to go, all right, I'll go to another centre. And that's what I did. And that's exactly where I actually found what I knew,
Yeah.
because this centre needed to be built up from bottom up. And this new centre I worked at, and I realised all these skills that I had that I just did at the other centre.
Yeah, you kind of accumulated it over in the other center. It helped you in the new role.
Yeah. So this team was broken. No one was talking. There was no program. There was all this stuff that wasn't happening. And by the end, like I was there for about 9 months, and it was all happening. And the team were talking. They're now friends. I can see them all
Oh,
being besties still to this day. So
great.
it's pretty wild. And
Yeah.
that's in that journey is where I discovered how I can build a centre up quite easily.
Yeah, for
Just
sure.
was natural for me, and I just knew the tools.
Yeah. And I guess I get a couple of things I wanted to touch on. Though that progression, I guess, from being an educator and then going into the manager or whatever, like the ed leader, what did you find, or if someone is kind of experiencing that for themselves, what did you find, and how did you kind of navigate that? Oh, we're just kind of friends to now we're still friends, but like we need to kind of have you do this and that. And how did you navigate that?
I think at the start, I still was their friend. I
Yeah.
think I thought nothing's going to change. It'll be fine. And then realistically realized I'm going to be walked over. And
Yeah.
it's not on them. It wasn't that. It was just the way you view people. It's everyone's on the same page. And it was, but I think it was just building their respect. And it didn't become me being this boss or anything. It was just them knowing that they can trust me, make good decisions, and they were still my teammates anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was just building the trust with the team, and having that was what
Yeah.
the main aspect was.
Oh, no, that's good. And I guess the other question I was thinking of, if for someone who's kind of wanting to take that path, going from educator to ed leader to IC to that sort of stuff, is there any tips you have for like how do they become I guess not relevance might not be the word, but the one that kind of ends up doing it, how can they put themselves forward, whereas they say, hey, I want to eventually, be the director. I want to eventually do this. Like, how do they go about that?
I would highly recommend just being really open to feedback and not taking anything personally. And those who can take on feedback, especially on the floor, is who grows the quickest and simplest. And yeah, being open to that, but attending professional development, seeking support, being part of a network potentially that helps you grow, but it's not forced.
Yeah. No.
But yeah, it's definitely being open to learning and not being stuck in your ways. And just because you thought of it and you did it doesn't mean it's correct, but it doesn't mean it's completely wrong. It's like, oh, okay, that didn't work. Can you help me discover what would work? That's all.
No, for sure. It's one of those things like I'm not sure it's like a theory or what's, but like when you first get into something, it's like, oh, I know this is easy. I know everything. And then the longer you're in something, the more you study and the more you work, you're like, oh, I actually know nothing. And then you have to keep, you go further down the rabbit hole and there's more to learn. And there's always more to learn. So I guess it's getting to that point where it's like, oh, I could be pretty good, or whatever I'm doing is working, but there's always room to grow and there's always room to get better.
Absolutely. And the best way to even judge that, right, is even if you look back 5 years, you thought you're going to start something, you're like, I can do this. This is great. This is easy. And now you look back now, you're like, God, I was horrible. I was
Yeah.
bad at that.
For sure. I think that
And now
every
you can go, bro, this is
yeah.
great.
I think that every day when running the business and stuff, I'm always like, gee, when I was like, because I started it when I was 24, like, what was I doing? That's crazy. Like, it was, you think back, that's about 8 years ago, you go, at least he tried, but he has a lot to learn.
I don't know how to build a website. What was I thinking?
No, for sure, for sure. And then I guess transitioning into what you're doing now, like when you're so how does it work with the directors that coming to you? Obviously, you've kind of built relationships and that sort of stuff, but how would you, I guess, help a struggling center or a few points that you could give struggling centers that might not have, I guess they have that disconnect in their team. Maybe they don't have the numbers with the kids, or they're just starting to build. What are a few pointers that you could give someone that might just help that, transition them from a, below average center to a high quality center?
Oh, that's actually a really difficult one. That's
Yeah.
where I
Is
can't
that
really
like
give completely blank.
nuances, and like each kind of center has their own sort of thing?
Yeah, see, what I do is I realize that everyone's unique and everyone has different
Mm.
challenges. So when I go into a service or I talk to a director or whoever I'm going to potentially mentor, I actually work out what the gaps are. They might not realize these gaps.
Yeah.
And then I help target those. But if we're going to look at the team perspective and that side of it, my main thing is get to know the team personally and get the team members to know each other personally. It's not to know when they're going to the toilet each morning. It's just where's their favorite place to travel, favorite
Yeah.
foods, their culture, things like that, that just help you connect with them. And staff meetings, they're so important. Do them every month or every 5 weeks. I
Yeah.
know some people are like, oh, but they're after hours, but God, they're the one thing that brings my teams together always.
Yeah. Yeah. And during those stuff, is it work related, or are you doing more? Is it fun thing? Like, is it like, trivia, or is it just straight down the line, like work? Like, how does that those work?
Mostly it's work.
Yeah.
It's mostly because it is after hours, and if you're working a long daycare, it's like 6 o'clock to like 7:30. So
Yeah.
they're zooming out the door afterwards. So they just want to get it done.
For
Like,
sure.
but that's respecting their time too. So,
Yeah.
sometimes it is, especially if your team is a bit broken, still have a bit of a 5-minute breaker of getting to know each other and then
Yeah.
get slammed into it. But by the whole team being on the same page and knowing, okay, this is what we're working on, or okay, I'll fix all of those WHS issues. This is where we're working on for our quick, whatever it is, the team all are on the same page, and that will naturally bring the team together.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And then I guess like moving into for centers that they're trying to, exceed and the national quality standard, that sort of stuff. What are you seeing, like how do people get to that top level? Like what do you see that that these top centers are doing that are getting them to the top level?
Again, number one is the team being all on the same page and being connected, but their consistency and approach, and not having people go, I know better, I'm doing this and I'm doing something different. It's everyone, potentially some rooms are working on different goals, and that's
For sure.
fine. But what are you doing continuously and growing and evolving to do that? And again, it goes back to what I was saying right at the beginning. It's to, like, just in general, to grow, it's just to be open-minded to feedback. And just because you got exceeding 5 years ago and you're doing the exact same thing doesn't mean you'll get it, because that doesn't show continuous growth. That just shows
Nah.
staying a
Yeah.
stagnant stage, right?
Yeah. For
So
sure.
it's being part of networks, it's being part of professional development, growing within your knowledge. And you froze a little bit.
Yeah.
But then but yeah, adding into that, and if you've been at the same center for 10-15 years, that's where people such as myself really come in handy, because I bring in this outside perspective and you don't have to leave the center.
Yeah, for sure, which is great. And I guess once I feel like, especially if someone's been in something for so long, they're at the same center, they're not seeing what's happening outside. I guess it could be that there is like something where you kind of, oh, we're good. We're doing well. Well, let's just like, we were good 5, 10 years ago. Now we're still good, but it's kind of the same stuff, and nothing's really changed. Is that
Yeah,
kind of how you
exactly
see
right.
it?
But if you're seeing your centre day in, day out, it's like seeing your friend or your own house day in, day out, right? Like you could go in through your house and your hallway every day
Mm.
and nothing, you don't see anything different. And say your mother-in-law comes through and she walks through your hallway and goes, oh, look at all these marks on your wall.
Yeah, for sure.
And you're like, I didn't notice those
Yeah.
because you're so blind, because you're just part of your day.
Yeah, a good way how I used to explain that is like, because back in the day I used to do a bit of personal training and that sort of stuff,
Yeah.
is like taking a photo when you first start to 3 months or 4 months down the track, because you're seeing your body every day, so you don't actually you're not seeing these changes, because what you just kind of every day you see the same, you're seeing your body, so it doesn't look like you've changed. But if you capture something day one
Yeah.
and then revisit it 4 months later, you'll see that progression of what you've made. But if you do it every day, you're not going to see it, and you're like, oh, what? It's not even working.
No, absolutely. And I can totally relate to that because I'm a bit of a fitness fanatic and all my followers know that a little bit. But no, I completely understand. Like you just sort of keep going, right? Like
Yeah.
you don't see it and then one day, like, yeah, your jeans fall down. You're like, oh, okay, bye.
Yeah, you're gonna like, oh, these pants aren't fitting. They must be working.
Yeah,
Okay.
right. But it takes a while.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Did you have like what else are you seeing like within the centers that you're going to? Maybe like what are some points for directors, and do you kind of see, or do you kind of deal with how to grow a center in terms of children, and like, trying to get each center to have all the kids, and up to 85+%?
So I don't, that's not my goal for centre growth,
Yep.
because I know for a fact that once a team is solid and a leadership is solid, word of mouth just gets out
Yes. Yeah, for sure.
and growth will organically happen. And people love all the educators, and staff turnover is super low because everyone's connected, everyone loves
Yeah.
coming to work. So that feeds to everybody and it just makes things organically happen.
Yeah.
Because if you just focus on the 85%, it's not going to happen.
Nah, for sure. I think so. So for the directors out there, if you do feel like, so you'd say that getting a team, building a relationship with the team could be like, if you had to have the first step for someone at a center, it would be, let's try and get this team connected.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And have systems in place that are consistent. So everyone can relate. It's like children, they rely on routine and predictability. So do educators.
Yeah.
Have that.
Yeah, for sure. That's awesome. No, so I guess like when you were kind of educating, and when you were back like in the actual like heart of it, what did you see like for an educator's point of view, and when you were doing it, what was making a good educator? What helped nurture the kids? What made kind of yourself, or what educators do you see that you think, oh, this educator's got it. This person knows what they're doing, and you can really see that with how the kids respond. Is there any kind of things you see when you back? I know it might have been a while ago now, but
It's hard. I think as a leader, you just see it. Even as an educator, you just go, God, they're good. Or
yeah,
yeah, they're going to evolve. They're going places. You just, I don't know, like you just can see it. And you would even do it when you're doing these things with the children and kicking. You're like, oh, they've got this. They've just got this
for
weird
sure.
ability that they know how to kick this ball, and I don't know
Yeah.
how. It's just these educators, and that's what happens. But educators, they all have their quirks and they're all got their skills, and that's what I love, because majority of the time I always had like a male part of my team as well, which
Yeah,
brought this best perspective, because people are probably going to frown upon me, but men and women have different thought processes and approaches,
for
and
sure.
that's an amazing thing to have because it brings a new depth within the service. But you've always got the educator that everything needs to be on time. so everyone stays on time. There's an educator that's the person that just really wants to be with the children and nurtures them all day long. So we need that as well. We've got the person and you have all these different team members that just make a puzzle. And
Yeah,
it's
for
just
sure.
amazing.
Yeah. So you think that's super important to try get, when you're kind of setting out a team and that sort of stuff, are you looking for that, or is that just kind of happening as you kind of see your team? Like
It happens.
it just kind of happens.
Yeah, I think you get attracted to the person in a centre for a reason. And I don't know, that's my philosophy. And people get attracted to you for, say, if you're centre for a purpose, and it's either to teach you or to stay with you for a long time. And it always has that reason.
Yeah. And would you recommend to directors and that sort of stuff? And I guess you're working with both private, I guess, like people at private and then bigger companies.
Yeah.
Like when educators are looking to upskill themselves and that sort of stuff, how does it work in regards to, would you recommend like the centre kind of pay for this upskilling, or is it something that the educators should take on their own and do it themselves? Or is there a bit of both? Or is it different with like different companies, or how does that work?
Yeah, I do believe it's a bit of both, but I think companies or centres need to really invest in their centre and educators for them to have a growth. So it's setting aside a budget and assigning, okay, this is what we're going to do as a team, but the person in the leadership role needs a bigger budget for their PD, because they're the ones running the centre. If they fall down, the whole team falls down.
Yeah,
but all these people in the leadership role, if they do have a budget, they're passing it on to their educators and forgetting about themselves.
Yeah.
So I do think centres, a lot of people missing out on opportunities such as myself because they would have to fund it. Whereas centres, they're going to have the growth within the children, like we were saying. They're going to have less turnover if you invest in the educators, and which is then essentially giving you money back anyway. So I think centres should be starting
for
to
sure. I think so if they can think of it as an investment, because the last chat we had was we tried to speak about how do you retain that staff, and if you're obviously one, you care about your staff and you're checking in and that sort of stuff, that's obviously a given. But if you're in like investing in their growth, is that what you're feeling? They're more likely to stay. They're more, because obviously if you're getting that turnover of staff, sometimes people have different situations, like yourself, you have to move further out, like that happens. But majority, if your staff's turning over, there's obviously something that needs to change.
Yeah, absolutely. I had a word when you're saying, but it's totally lost now. But I think if you have staff turnover just because they're leaving, you got to sort of look at it. But sometimes you do have a role of like all these educators leaving, and then you get this new team. You're like, this is what it was meant to be like. But like I had a period at one point, all my centre except like two of us were pregnant, and so that was two of us like, hello. That was a period of a massive turnover for that, but it wasn't a bad one.
No, for sure. Like, obviously, like life's going to happen and things, people move away, people get pregnant, things happen. But if you can, because I guess the more consistent you see, because especially I just put our baby into Archie. If you're listening, he's probably not, he's only one.
And it's loyalty. That was my word I was looking for. The educators will have loyalty to you, because they're like, no, I'm not leaving this centre. They look after me. Some centres don't. They make us do PD, or they're always helping us skill. They give us good pay. Like, people have loyalty and they can't break away from that.
Yeah, it's especially that's great. Yeah, because especially if like anything, if someone cares about your growth and about you, it's going to be it's not like it's negative, like it's not like they're guilting you into it, but it's harder to, if you're enjoying it and you're growing and you want to stay, you want to be a part of something, you want to get the get the best out of yourself, but then also like make what you're doing working hard, so that the person that's putting that time into you, they're also, you're kind of doing the best for them as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's so important. And it's not guilt, it's just
No.
like you want to be able to go to work and enjoy. And yeah, early childhood doesn't get paid well, but people used to say that to me all the time when I was working, and I'm like, I'm enjoying them. Like, I get I need to survive, but
Yeah.
I knew that, and I love coming to work every single day. And so
Yeah.
that's what you want people to feel. And when they feel that, you don't want to leave that environment. Why would you want to leave that environment?
No, for sure. That's yeah, it's great. No, I was gonna say, yeah, so we just put our son into childcare recently. So and for parents, I think when you see, because obviously like your child's gonna get connected to the teachers, get connected to the educators. So if there's a quick turnover and you'll lose, your child, has that connection, and then the next minute they're gone, and another one comes in and they're gone, and it's going to be one. I feel like as a family, you might be like, oh, this is not working. We have to move somewhere else. But
Mm-hmm.
two, you want your kids to have that. You want them to know they're being looked after, they're being nurtured. That they're seeing a familiar face, because that's part of it. If you're dropping off and they're seeing a familiar face, it's a less of a, it's especially for a parent. Like today, I left my son at childcare. He started crying. He's only one in a little bit. He started crying, but I know that they're so nurturing there, and like they like loving there. So it hurts a bit less when you leave, type thing.
Oh, absolutely. But it also benefits you. And I know we focus on children, but it's the parents that also have the anxiety mostly.
Mm,
And you're leaving your most cherished
mm,
thing to other people.
yeah,
Like you're giving your world to other people. And so, of course, you're going to be anxious. And if you're
yeah,
anxious, your child is. But if you have trust that he's going to be safe, he's got the
yeah.
same educators, he's got familiarity, he'll be fine, that's lessened. I'll never say it will go away, but it's lessened. Like,
Nah, for sure, for sure. Oh, guys, nothing worse than dropping. Just leaving. You like, seeing them cry as soon as you like put them down. It's just there's nothing worse, I'll tell you.
never thought you'd feel that feel, right?
Oh no, and we're only a month in, so it's and I'm on drop off, so that's
Oh, you've got the horrible job.
it's shocking every time. This sucks, and they feel like they know, they cling to you, and they
Yeah, and then mum gets to be the rescuer.
Yeah.
You survived.
I'm here. The savior has come.
Oh,
No, it's good. So yeah, that's good. I feel like we've kind of hit some good points and that sort of stuff. Did you have any other tips, any other advice, I guess, for the directors? Sorry. If we could, if they are looking for outside help, or they are looking for someone like yourself, but maybe they feel like they can't find it, or they can't ask, but because potentially some of these directors might have, area managers and owners and that sort of stuff, and they're looking for someone like yourself, but maybe someone's not letting them kind of provide it. How would you say, hey, how would you go about telling a director to try and navigate that, and speak to who they need to speak to get someone like yourself?
I would just first of all, before going to say hi and going, oh, I really need, say, Cassandra or whatever, it's talk, pick up the phone or email and just have a talk. Because if you give me a call, I can talk to you, and you can also see if you connect with me and how
Yeah,
I can help as well. So then if you do need to say, I really need Cassandra or whoever it is, this is why, that can help. And then those people can then call whoever or myself to then also talk to them, because that's the best way, because you can play assumptions if you don't talk to someone personally. So giving them a call and just going, this is where I'm challenged, or this is where I'm at, but I really want to grow just in general. How can you help? It will help provide that, to see if that's something you want as well. So my biggest thing is just reach out, and I'm friendly. I'm happy for a chat. I'm all good.
No, that's awesome. But no, thank you so much for coming on. I feel like this was a great chat, and maybe even down the track in a year or so, once we kind of build up, we can touch base again, see where you're at, see how it's all going. But yeah, thank you so much for coming on.
No worries. And I look forward to it. Well, in a year's time, I'll be doing the drop-off of the baby. So
Yeah, I know.
I'll relate to that.
Congratulations. I saw the post, so congratulations.
Yeah. So I'll have those heartstrings being torn away.
Now, before you do head off, I do this. I once saw this podcast, and because as a new fresh podcast, it's hard to kind of get guests and that sort of thing. So the thing is who do you think, or what? And someone, Donna the other day changed it to what topics we should discuss because she didn't have someone off the top of the head. But the question is, who do you think would work well or be good for this podcast? But whoever you say, you have to help get them on.
Oh, I think I'd have to take Donna's thing. I don't know. Yeah, I know that's hard.
It is hard. I might need to start preparing people before I ask this question.
Yeah, I actually have no idea. There is so many, especially being number 2. I think I can't go, oh, well, you've already covered this. Maybe you can do this. It's your world is open, and I think reach out, but see. I think personally, I would add it into asking what your audience wants. What do the listeners really want more of? Is it about quality improvement plans? Is it about being inclusive? Is it about teamwork? Is it about assessment and rating? What is it? What topics are they wanting to learn more about to get insight on? Yeah,
no, for sure. No, thank you so much. That's awesome. So thank you. We'll sign off here, and yeah, thanks everyone for listening. Have a good one.
Thank you.
See you later. Thanks so much, everyone, for watching episode 2 of the Early Years Learning Lab. Hope you had a great time. Hope you kind of learned some stuff through Cassie and what she's doing and what can help our business grow. I think some good takeaways. Obviously, I think the main takeaway what we spoke about was that building a team and having good team relations within your center. So, but as always, like the page, subscribe, all that sort of thing, and let us know. Get our email address. I'll put it all in the chat. And if you want to know, or if you have any questions that you want us to talk about on the podcast, please let us know, because this is all about bringing as much value to the early years sector as possible. So yeah, so shoot us an email. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Instagram, that sort of stuff. So thanks so much again for watching, and we'll see you on the next video.